What's striking is Charles II's grandfather was Ferdinand III, the Holy Roman Emperor. His name comes up in Habsburg family trees all the time, as his children were known to produce history's most notable characters, Marie Antoinette and Charles II, the inbred king. Here's Marie Antoinette's tree that I did, and I explained this in her own separate video on my channel, but I'm going to add to this, and this shows how his wives are related to him. So he married 3 times, and his first wife was his first cousin. This was not a shocker at the time. He was a product of first cousins after all. His father was even a product of an uncle-niece relationship, and he himself promoted his own daughter to marry her uncle too. So for him to marry his first cousin was like you marrying your neighbor. It's like, what's new? So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Here on Mortal Phases, I recreate portraits to see how individuals we read about might have looked in real life, as well as untangle family trees such as the Habsburgs. So thank you for watching, subscribe for more recreations, and let me know in the comments who you want to see next. He was born in 1608 as the 3rd son of his father, the Holy Roman Emperor, but his 2 older brothers died by the time he was 11, so he became his father's successor. He grew up very loved by both his parents and was very well educated and knew multiple languages. He had a very peacemaking personality, which would continue throughout his own reign. He was 23 when he married his first wife and first cousin, Maria Anne of Spain. She was supposed to marry his older brother, but he died, and so she married him instead. Ferdinand was very different than the kings were used to. He was such a sweetheart, and records show that kings would usually get a portrait of their bride, and then you say yay or nay. He was distrusting of all the portraits he had seen of the Infanta and decided to see her in person. And so he pretended to be someone else with a group of friends, and then upon meeting her, when she arrived from Spain to get married, he was struck by her beauty. He immediately revealed his identity and began a conversation with her. The love and respect that he felt for his wife lasted throughout their marriage. He was never unfaithful and never had any illegitimate children. It was beautiful and completely the opposite experience someone else in history had when he first met his wife-to-be. She did extremely well as empress. She was active in politics and was a great mediator between Austria and Spain, always having her husband's back but never forgetting the needs of her brothers, King Philip IV and the Cardinal Infante. They had 6 children, but she died upon her final child's birth with heavy bleeding and a fever. Of his 6 children, his daughter Maria Anne of Austria married her uncle Philip IV of Spain, and then their daughter Margaret Therese of Spain married her mom's brother Leopold I, the next Holy Roman Emperor. So Leopold was Ferdinand's 5th child. His second wife was Archduchess Maria Leopoldine of Austria, his first cousin as well. We can see here that his first wife, Maria Anne of Spain, was a descendant of Charles II, the Archduke of Austria, through his daughter Margaret of Austria. Ferdinand is a product himself through Ferdinand II, a son, and Maria Leopoldine is a descendant of another son, Leopold V of Austria. So Maria Leopoldine married Ferdinand. She was much younger than her elder cousin who passed away. Maria Anne of Spain was born in 1606, while Maria Leopoldine was born in 1632, which is a 26-year difference. Ferdinand, upon their marriage, was 40 and she was 16. If you look at this portrait here, we often think of portraits of people being old and unrelatable. Take a closer look, and she is really a 17-year-old girl in 1649, 1 year after her marriage. She's basically one of your high school classmates, and you can see in the youth in her face before and after her transformation. The childbirth was extremely difficult, ending in the death of the 17-year-old empress. Her husband remarried within 2 years, while their son died childless when he was 14. 2 years later, Ferdinand married a 3rd time to Eleanor Gonzaga. She was born in 1630, so 2 years younger than the previous empress, and was 21 in 1651 upon marriage, while Ferdinand was 43 at this time. So they were second cousins twice removed. Her great-grandmother's mom had a brother, and his grandchild was Ferdinand. And if we flip it, his grandfather had a sister. Her great-great-grandchild was Eleanor. You see, his son Leopold, from his first wife, the next Holy Roman Emperor, would also follow this tradition, coincidentally, marrying 2 close relatives and then 1 distant one, because, you know, it's good to diversify your portfolio, I suppose. Better be safe than sorry, they always say, so even though at this point in 1651, 3 sons of him are alive, fate would eventually kill 2 of them off in a few years, so it's a good thing he did decide to try once more for some more boys. You're never too old to breed. Of the 4 children he had with Eleanor Gonzaga, 2 of them would survive to adulthood, 3 girls and 1 boy, but the youngest boy would live to only 1 year old, which was a year after Ferdinand died. But kudos for him for trying to produce heirs every possible year he could. I mean, if you look at the years his children were born, we have 1633, 34, 37, 38, 40, 46, widowed, and then 2 years later he remarried in 1648. In 49 he had another child, and then his second wife died. 2 years later he married to his third wife in 51, and then he had a child in 52, 53, 54, and 57, and then he died in 57 as well. Ferdinand inherited imperial territories that had been absolutely devastated by 2 decades of war. His empire was in the middle of the 30 Years' War, and history would see him as a monarch with a sense of responsibility and the willingness to make difficult decisions. By the end of the war and his life, he did end up with a considerable loss of authority within the empire, but he remained active in politics to rebuild and reinvest into his empire, as he wanted to pass on to his son Leopold I an empire that was still at the top despite the destruction of war. However, he would die young. His gallbladder became inflamed at the age of 49. His son wasn't even secured for the throne upon his death, but as the Holy Roman Emperor was an elected position, it wasn't long before the electors of the empire chose his son. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you did enjoy it. I have his son Leopold, the Habsburg jaw glamour boy in all his handsomeness, on my channel, and his wives and their recreations. Do check that out, subscribe for more recreations. Each of your subscriptions does help this channel grow. It allows me to continue making more content for you. Let me know in the comments who you want to see next. I do make a list of all your suggestions, and I will see you in the next one.